Welcome everybody. It's great to have everyone join us today. My name's Scott Hebbard. I'm the Communications Manager here at Spark Systems, and I'd like to welcome you to our webinar entitled Maximise the Value of Enterprise Architect Models. And in this session, we'll provide a guide to integrate data from external providers into the Enterprise Architect repository. So a little bit of housekeeping to begin. I'm going to discuss how to submit questions. This webinar will appear on YouTube and the Spark Systems website. We usually try to get it up on YouTube within 24 hours of the presentation, and then we respond to the Q&A and get that up about a week later. So Nithya will discuss how to maximise the value of Enterprise Architect models, examining a guide to integrate data from external providers into an Enterprise Architect repository, and I believe we're looking at Wrike and Wrike integration, so I'm very interested to see that. And at the end we'll have some Q&A with the audience, and look forward to hearing your responses. Please note that audio is muted for all participants. You'll be able to type questions to the host, and if we can't answer all questions live, we'll follow up offline. This is an example of what the question interface looks like. So simply enter the text into the question box, hit send or hit enter on the numeric keypad. That'll come through to myself, and we can ask those questions. If we don't get to them during the live session, we'll follow up and publish on the website afterwards. But right now, I'd like to hand over to Nithya, who's going to present our topic tonight. So I will just hand the screen over to you.
Hello, Scott. How are you?
I'm very well, Nithya.
Thank you
looking
very
forward
much.
to the presentation.
Fantastic. Hello and welcome, everyone. I appreciate each and every one of you here to joining here with us to see the webinar. I'm very excited to share my knowledge of integrating Enterprise Architect with third-party tools. I am at the moment, just give me 1 second. I will share my screen. Yep, you should be able to see my
I can now see it.
Fantastic.
Yes, thank you.
I hope everyone can hear me well.
Yep, sounds great.
Fantastic, no issues there. Excellent. Let's start with our learning points for today's session. We're going to see the use of server-based plugin interface, which is SBPI, which we call as SBPI, which is shipped along with the ProCloud server, Spark Systems ProCloud server. So how to use this for integration, and then what is the use of this, and then how can we configure the ProCloud server for integrating with third-party softwares like Wrike or Salesforce, ALM, etc. Once it's configured, then we have to integrate Enterprise Architect using PCS, right? The example I'm going to show is the Wrike application, and then how to link elements in Wrike into Enterprise Architect, mapping and linking external providers' data into Enterprise Architect repository. So this is what we are going to learn today. So let's begin with the server-based plugin interface. So what it is it is an application, and it acts as an interface between the ProCloud server and each plugins. When I say each plugins, there are separate plugins for every device, out-of-the-box plugins. You can also create your own custom plugins. So there are some plugins available for Wrike, Jira, JAMA, etc. I'll show you the list in the next screen. So what are the requirements for the SBPI to work efficiently is like you should have a licensed ProCloud server, then physical network access to the server hosting the external data. Either it's cloud hosted model, cloud hosted application, or it'll be hosted on a local premises. So either way, you should have the network access to get the external data. And obviously, you need to have the user credentials to access the external data. Finally, when it comes to the Enterprise Architect, the versions supported are in version 14 or later, and the editions are Corporate, Unified, and Ultimate editions. One small note, if you're using a trial to test this, the trial edition will only give read-only access to the integrations. You will not be able to create, modify, or edit any details. You'll be able to see the external data inside Enterprise Architect, and that's about it. With the trial edition, if you have a licensed version, you can I'll do a walkthrough of the integration and you can test it in your own machine. So how is the server setup done? It consists of two parts. One is the sbpi.exe, the application server, integration server, and then the plugins. Okay, so these two are there, and which comes with the ProCloud server. There are two ways you can do it. One is both the integration server and the plugins are all installed in the same server as the ProCloud server. And then the other way is your ProCloud server is in a different machine. Okay, the integration server and the plugins are running in a different machine. These are the two different types. The benefits of having both the integration server and the plugins in the same server as PCS is that you get a user interface in order to configure the cloud, in order to do the cloud configuration, and you can manage this, save it, manage it, everything. It's all super simple. It is simplified. And the starting and stopping of the ProCloud service, Windows service is all automated. You'll see when I show the demonstration. In the other way of setting it up, that's when the server plugins and the PCS are in separate machines, you actually have to manually configure the integration configuration in PCS and also the Windows services. This has to start and stop separately as in a manual way. Okay, with the correct and the parameters should also be manually set. So how do you access it? You need to know where the files are. I will show you in a moment. Before that, these are the list of applications that Enterprise Architect comes with out of the box. Spark Systems provides out of the box plugins for these applications. I am going to stop. Okay, there's one more slide, which is a simple high-level view of how the integration between Spark Systems Enterprise Architect and RIKE works. So there's the ProCloud server, and in the ProCloud server communicates with the SBPI and the RIKE XBPI to translate the push and pull requests between the two applications. So this is how the entire integration works in a very simple conceptual model. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment before I open the demo. Okay. Right. In the meantime, if there are any questions, please feel free to bring it in to our attention.
No question.
No questions at the moment. All right, I'll start sharing again. Right, you should be able to see my screen. Enterprise Architect RIKE integration using PCS and SBPI.
Yep, looks great.
Lovely. All right. So the first thing we're going to see is I promised to show you the location of the file. So in your machine, in your Windows machine, if you're on a Windows machine, this is where all the SBPI files are located. Okay, so under Program Files, Spark Systems, ProCloud Server, where the ProCloud Server is installed, there you'll find a folder called SBPI for all the server-based plugin interfaces, and inside which you will be able to find a list of plugins. When you have a connection, when you have configured a connection between an external application, you would be able to see a config file. For example, for Salesforce, there's sales.config, and then for Wrike, there is wrike.config, and so on. Okay. So this is the location. So if you want to manually configure, if you want to change your parameters manually, if at all you happen, if there is a need to do so, you can go and find the documents there, the files there. So first thing we're going to do is, because we are integrating with the Wrike application, we have to configure Wrike for API integration. This is what we are going to see in the first scene. So I have opened the Wrike application in my account, and in the screen you will be able to find, like on the top part in the menu, there will be an automation menu drop down. So when you click the arrow, you will get a drop down menu in which there is apps and integrations. That's where you have to click. So what this does is takes you to another page which allows you to integrate with different applications. There are three menus here: App Directory, App Access, and API. The App Directory gives you all the out-of-the-box integrations which Wrike provides. Here we are going to create our own app name. So click on the API, the third menu, and this will take you to this screen where you can create a name. You can choose to give any name here. I'm going to give Sparks EA, and then click create new. This will take you to the configuration page where the app name is there. You can give an app description. You can also please note that there's a client ID and the client secret, which is already loaded. It's given by the Wrike by default. Make a note of it. It will be useful in future, just in case if you want to access it later or do any manual configuration. And then there's this permanent access token. This token is essential for the APIs to communicate. So what you do is you have to create a token. There is some yes, there's a feature there. There's a link there, create token. You click on it and then ask for a password. And once you the authorization happens, a token will be generated. You see the box here. This is where the token will be generated. You can copy it and save it for future use. Now you have to save the entire configuration. So you see here, there's the Sparks EA, the name which we have chosen to give. You can that name can be anything. Integrate with Enterprise Architect is the description I've given. And if you want to go back to the configuration page, you can click on the configure. So with this part, the Wrike configuration is over. Next, we are going to see how to configure ProCloud Server, that is from the EA side, for the integration. Okay, so once you open the ProCloud Server client, you click on the ProCloud Server client, it is going to ask you for your username and password. Once you click, once you get authorized, it will take you to this configuration client window. So the first tab is the database manager. Please note that I've already created a cloud hosted model called my FP model, which is basically a Firebird database. So I've created FP model. This is the okay. It is to this model where I'm going to connect or integrate with my Wrike application. Okay. So the third tab is the integrations tab. When you open the integrations tab, the first thing you need to do is there is this enable integrations element here, field here, which you have to enable. Click on the checkbox and it will enable the integrations. And then you have to add a new integration configuration, right? So for this, I'm going to say order processing, because that's the folder I've created in Rike, tasks for order processing. This name can be anything. It's up to you. You must understand what it is. So give the appropriate name, and the provider I have chosen as Rike. Integration plugin, like, do you need it to auto start? Yes. Every time I open EA, I'd like the integration plugin to start automatically, instead of I have to open the Windows services and start again. For the provider server, it's a HTTPS connection. And then with Rike, it's just Rike.com, and you don't need to give any base URL. All the folders that are in your account will automatically get loaded when you integrate. So any HTTPS connection, the port by default is 443. If you have a HTTP connection, you'll be using a different port. That depends on, HTTP is because it's a cloud hosted application. Okay, if you have a different application which is hosted on your own server, then the port number depends on the configuration of that particular server. This is all. And then, yeah, another thing is create items. I've enabled create items, modify items, and post discussions. This is the configuration. Whether you enable or disable is up to what you want to achieve. For our demo purpose, I've checked everything. And then the authentication is through credentials. There's also OAuth authentication that is available. Okay, so here is the close-up view of the configuration of Rike in PCS. All right. Okay. Now, once you do that and save it, set all the parameters for configuration, save it. Now you can see in the data providers, the Rike providers added. The name I've given is order processing, and the port here is 8081. This port is actually the port that okay, this is the port the integration plugin used to communicate with the external data provider. The 443 port, I'm sorry, the 443 port, which was there in the Rike configuration, the previous screen, is the one that the plugin, Rike SBBI plugin uses to communicate with Rike. Whereas this port here, 8081, it is the value, this is the port the server uses to communicate with the integration plugin. That is SBBI.exe uses to communicate with the Rike SBBI plugin. Okay, so that's the difference. You may feel confused, like, why do we have two different port numbers? Okay, all right. And also note that I have bound my integration with Rike to my repository. Which EA repository do I need this integration to happen? It can't happen to all the EA repositories that I open, but only to the bound ones. So I'm binding this particular integration to my Firebird module, which will have, this is an alias for the cloud. Okay, so this is the services part. Okay, so every time you change the configuration, change any information, do a new configuration or change any parameters, it is always advisable to go open the Windows services, and then you can find the Spark Systems Professional Cloud Service there. You right click on it and you will get a menu like this, and you restart it in order to ensure that the Pro Cloud Services works well with the updated parameters. Okay, so that is another thing that you have to take care of. So now that we have configured Rike, configured Enterprise Architect, let's test the integration. I'm going to open the Cloud BHS, which is basically the Firebird model that's hosted in the cloud, the PCS. Okay, so in order to access the external data, all right, there are some internal elements, some tasks. This will change anyway. get updated. So you see, I first clicked on specialized tab menu, and then that takes me to a menu ribbon where you get systems integration. You click on systems integration, and then the external data tab appears. Do you see the middle of the screen? The external data tab appears, and there is the drop down menu in which you click, and then all the external data that's already where the integration is available, it shows. I have linked to an external enterprise architect repository. I want communication between or integration between two repositories, so that's been established. And then I've enabled also the RIKE, so the RIKE integration is showing up here. And then the order processing is the name we have given for that integration configuration that comes up. And then what happens is RIKE will ask you for authorization. So we have enabled creating and modifying elements and comments. So it says like EA is asking for permission to do so and so you have to accept, and once you accept it, I can close this window. The access is granted. That's a success. So we have successfully integrated RIKE and EA. Okay, pretty much this is the same for most of the applications, other applications, whether Salesforce or ServiceNow, etc. There'll be few changes in the configuration parameters. That's it. So now let's see the task elements in RIKE. So what do we have? As you can see, I have a folder called order processing. There's a project called new client, and I have created 3 tasks: check order, create order, and send invoice. These are all newly created. I've just changed the status of a couple of tasks, create order and send invoice, to progress, and there are no description to any of these tasks. I have not changed any parameters yet, the properties yet. So this is freshly created. Okay, so now in Enterprise Architect, let me see if the integration is actually showing the external data provider. The external data is actually pulled in by EA. If we see, then that means our integration is really working. So I'm again opening the model. Starts from the beginning. All right. So you can see now that in the project browser, I've created a few more packages, activities, VPM, etc. Again, click on specialize, and then click on systems integration, and then the external data tab opens. Now I'm going to click on the arrow next to the browser thing symbol, and then I'm going to select RIKE and then order processing. Well, now the integration server is actually pulling up the information. It showed all the folders that I can access, and we are focused on order processing. And once I click order processing, you see all the tasks that were in RIKE automatically comes with the URL to the external link. So if you click on one of the URL, it will open up in RIKE. Okay. All right, so now what happens is sometimes when I open the external data, the object, that is, I don't know, like there are 3 tasks and there are no names to it. I like, what's happened? Like, what name is that task? And then I figured out there's in the header, you see there, and the header, right click, and there's a field chooser. So you right click and select the field chooser, and the field chooser box gives you all the different elements that are available for this particular type, like say task, that we have the object, geo good, and then remote ID. I select object and I place it in the header area. This is, you can move it in any order like you like to see it. So I moved it next to the mapped type, and then the object which gives the name of the task. And then if there are any stereotype, depending on a different, different applications, different fields will come here. So that's something that you can make note of, just in case if you are finding it that you don't see the name of the task. So now that we have, the notes, I'm sorry, now that we have seen like all the RIKE elements are loaded inside EA, you can see the external data. Let's see what happens if I add nodes to the RIKE tasks, whether it gets updated in EA. So for example, I'm selecting check order. In EA, you can see that the check order does not have any description, and in Wrike there are no description. And yes, I'm going to type in some description there. This task is to check order details and verify. So let's see if the notes get updated here. So there is this part here, like you see the hamburger button on the top left corner of the external data tab. When you click on it, you'll get a menu in which you will have refresh. Okay, so this refresh, what happens is updates all the information about the external data. Now you see the description has updated in Enterprise Architect. So that's it. So this is about the description. If I add some comments, like what happens if you want to collaborate, for example, say you have an issue that is linked to a particular task or Wrike task, you have created an issue in EA and I want to communicate or say the comment and do the appropriate action, take the appropriate action, what do I do? So how do I see the comments? Let's see if the comments gets updated. So here, for example, let's select check order and then try and put some comment there. I'm asking, hey, my team, please review this task for like, okay, we don't need the reason. We'll just say, please review or verify the task. Okay. And then click on send. So once you do this, there is, let's see if it's updated in Enterprise Architect. There it is. You see the verify task in discuss and review tab. You can see the comment. Now I'm going to reply from within Enterprise Architect saying like verification is in progress. Okay, I'm typing that in EA and the very next second you will see that is getting updated in Wrike. So this happens both ways. So that is also working properly. So we have seen the notes, we have seen the comments, and now we'll go for properties. Okay, whatever is there in the description is what you will see in EA element notes as well. Okay, and then now we are going to see the properties. Wrike task has some properties. To make it simple, I'll just say the start date. I'll set the start date and the end date for check order. That's been updated. And then inside EA, I go to refresh and it just gets automatically updated. See, the due date and the start date gets automatically updated. Right. So where the properties that has happened. So how to create linked elements? I mentioned that, say, for example, of I want to create a related task inside EA. I want to create a bug. I want to create an issue, etc. How do I handle it? Okay. Create linked elements. By default, when you create a linked element, what happens is Wrike task is mapped to an EA's task. So here, this is the default one. Towards the end, I'll show you how to create different elements inside EA. So I'm now creating a task in the maintenance package. I've selected the maintenance package. You see, that's easy. Just right click and then create local element, and then the dialog appears, and then you have to select the package once and then just say okay, and the linked element will be created. So this linked element will be mapped with all the properties of the external data. Okay, the mapped properties comes along, the data is pulled with the linked element as well. Just to show that these are EA elements, what I've done is I'm dragging and dropping all the elements onto the maintenance diagram. Okay, I'm just using the auto layout feature to make it all look nice and neat. Right, so let's get back to the external data tab. So now that we know we have created the linked elements, I want to push and pull data from Wrike. Okay, how do we do that? What is push and pull? Like whatever information is there, you have updated in EA, you have to push it to Wrike, and the information updated in Wrike have to be pulled to EA inside EA. Okay. So for this, click on the linked element, right click on the linked element, and then you will get this drop down menu where there is option for pull, push, and disconnect from the external object if you want to disconnect. Okay. So we are going to test these options. You see the external and the tags. So this is important. Like in the last step, I said all the properties are pulled into the linked element. Okay, any property that are associated with the Wrike task for the linked element, you will see it in the tags. The extended properties will be in the tags. Okay, like for example, the integration date, what is the priority, or any other extra property that you choose to add to the Wrike element. These are the default ones. If you want, you can create custom properties. Whenever they are created, it will come to the tags. So the default properties of the task, the Wrike task, will automatically be mapped to the external properties, external mapped properties. Okay. So you can see the status, that's the title, when was it updated. When you click on the other properties, there'll be more. Right. So what I'm going to do now is I've selected the linked element check order. That is the element that is inside EA. It's an EA task. Okay. And I'm changing the name to check order 2. So what do we need to do now in order to update Wrike? You have to push it. Push this information. So you see check order 2, that's been changed. And then, all right, here I am going to, okay, click on check order task in EA, and then you also have to note the check orders in Wrike. It is check order, it is not check order 2. So how do we update it? Say push, and then when you push, at the same instant inside Wrike you have check order 2. There is no delay there, and you also see inside EA also the information gets updated there for the Wrike element. So now how do we synchronize linked elements? Say for example, there are changes in Wrike, it's made in Wrike for multiple elements, and I want to synchronize everything in one go. How do I do it? Now you have to note the Wrike application where there are two other tasks, create order and send invoice. So I'm going to change create order to create order to 2 and send invoice to send invoice 2. And I've also added a description. Invoice is sent only if the order details are correct and stock is available. Okay. Okay. Okay, I've done it for create order instead of send invoice. That's okay. In EA, you note there is create order and there is send invoice. Okay, there is, the information is not pulled yet. So now refresh. What happens when you do refresh is all the updates you can see here. Yes. So once you do that, do you see the Wrike elements are updated, not the linked elements? All right. The check order 2, create order 2, and send invoice 2. And the linked elements are still the same. It has not been updated. You only update it if you want them to be synchronized. So next is synchronize local elements. You know, we created a notes, right, for create order 2. So likewise, we can change the scope, you can change the status, date, priority, etc. All right. Either you can select one or all of these properties. And for the sake of this demo, I'm going to select all and then say synchronize. Now the synchronize is done. Synchronize 3 elements. It's done. So you see now the linked elements are also updated. So all the information across are synchronized, and the information for the description which we gave for send in, the create order to is now available in the linked element or in EA. So here we have synchronized. So now we know we can see the right elements from within EA, and you can map, create local elements using the default type task, and synchronize the information between the two applications. Now let's say if I want to create, how to create different data types. Okay, we just don't want to get stuck with just tasks, right? Yeah. Click on the hamburger button, and then there is a menu called configure. You have to click on configure. This will take you to the type mapping dialog, in which the provider is because we have chosen the right in the external data tab, automatically the provider loads, and automatically it knows like, okay, right, there's the element type is task, so that loads as well. And I've set the perspective to BPMN, and then by default the tool set automatically appears there. If you have more, the more tool sets will appear. So I'm going to choose BPMN 2.0 and the business process tool set, and in which I'm going to select business process type of element. You can select anything, you can select activity also. So once that is done, you can see and save it. Now you have task which is mapped to BPMN 2.0 business process. Okay. So let's test this if this works. So what do we do now is click on the right element and then create local element. The same process which we did to create the linked element as type. So now you see by default the business process type is set, and then add the elements to the diagram. I've changed the context to business process diagram, so that's been the package BPMN has already been selected. And then create. You see it's been created both. You can see in the project browser as well as in the external data tab. The check order 2 business process is now created. It all happens with a couple of clicks. So I'm going to do the same for the other two tasks. Yeah. So all the business processes are created for check order, create order, order processing, and drag and drop these elements onto the diagram. You can choose to use connectors to show the relationship between these processes, and then create a business process diagram. Adding more elements. You feel free to add more elements. You not have to just stick with the elements, linked elements, but these are elements created from RAG. So yes, this gives you an overview of as a walkthrough of integration with the third-party providers, and the example we chose to use is RAG. So in the screen now you'll be able to see like what we did. What we did first was configure RAG, and then configure PCS for the connection, and then we bound it's very, very important to bind the connection to a model that's hosted in PCS, and then the restart the cloud services. Then we tested the connection. We created tasks in RAG, and we tested like whether you're able to see those tasks in EA. And then we added nodes, we added properties, we added comments, and then we saw like how these information are updated in EA using the refresh menu. And then we created local elements. By default they are tasks. Then we saw how to push and pull data between EA and RAG. Push and pull data is for the linked elements, not for the RAG. RAG is, if you want to see the updates of the RAG elements within EA, it's the refresh button. For the linked elements, it's the push and pull menu. And then finally, how to synchronize multiple linked elements in one go. We saw a demo of that too. And finally, how to map RAG tasks to other data types. So pretty much the steps are same for most of the applications, but the data types may differ. Some configuration parameters may differ. So with this, we have come to the end of this webinar. I'm ready to take any questions if anyone wants some clarity on anything.
Thanks, Nithya. No, that was really great seeing it all come together. I was just wondering whether you might be able to talk about what are some of the advantages of having all of the Reich elements available in Enterprise Architect, and how might this be beneficial to an organization?
Absolutely, that's a great question, Scott. The reason why we created this integration plugins is because there is a need where our client organizations, not all teams are using Enterprise Architect. Some of the teams will choose to use Reich. For example, say there is a team of architects who are actually doing solution designing and architecture, and there are developers who have, or test engineers who have test cases configured, etc. But then there are business users who choose to use Reich because that's simple to them. It's not too techy, and it's easy for them. So, and there is another thing is they'll already have information that is available in the Reich folders. So when in such scenarios, what, say for example, consider that we need to create test cases, okay? Excuse me. For a particular task, we want to add an issue that has to be tracked. We can create an issue in EA, in EA repository that can be easily managed. This issue can be assigned to a tester inside from within the EA repository, and a test case can be created. So the test case, the issue, everything can be linked to the external data, which is the Reich task. You see my point? Like, you don't need to actually take all the tasks that the business users have created and then create them as a separate task inside EA. You prevent all this siloed information. So you just integrate, and then the process is streamlined. So the business people keep using the Reich, and then say for example, your testing team, your architecture team, they just use the information to create their artifacts from within EA, and any change which is made inside EA can be pushed to Reich, and any change that are made in Reich can be pulled from within EA. So you see the benefit?
Yes, no, I certainly do, and I can imagine that not only would integration with Reich be useful, but there might be someone using a web-based tool for requirements, but people want to use Enterprise Architect for the modeling and for the business process languages and for the code engineering, and that they might want to bring material in from Reich and maybe bring something in from some of the other tools.
Yeah, like
So
Jira.
what are some
Jira's
of the other
another one
tools?
which is
Yeah,
popular. Yeah, Jira's
yeah.
popular. Confluence.
So they might do requirements in Jira, they might do some business work in Reich. Just for people that may use Jira and not Reich, what are some of the, what's the business case for using Reich for business users? What do they predominantly use Reich for?
So Reich is basically a project management, task management. You can keep track of the tasks, and you can assign resources. You can, it's basically a project management software, which is very simple and just confined. The usage is limited. It's not like enterprise architect. It's create tasks, assign to people, keep track of it. You can see the progress, can comment, can collaborate. All those things are there in Reich.
Thanks for that. Yeah, and I think, look, I think it then gives you the best of both worlds. It gives you, the superior, modeling and traceability that you get with Enterprise Architect, and you can bring in
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. Say for
other
example,
details.
Yeah. For example, you're integrating with Salesforce CRM. You have a customer object model created, and then you want to say for example, you do a use case scenario and then you want some sequence diagram generated for the architecture. You can't do that in Salesforce, right? Like if you want to simulate a certain process at C, what you do is you just pull that information into EA, create linked elements, and then from there you can do all the modeling, all the simulation work for testing, etc. So it's a very powerful thing to collaborate between various tools. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can remember attending conferences where people were, for example, they were consultants and they said they'd prefer to do it all in Enterprise Architect, but they'd have customers that were using, Rike or ServiceNow or other tools. And so in order to get the resources, they needed to use this kind of approach so that they could bring it all
Absolutely.
together.
That is another way. We advocate using Enterprise Architect for end-to-end management of your projects, but not all the teams may agree, not all the people may agree. So but at Spark Systems, we are very open for collaboration, yeah, between different tools.
So just a few quick questions. You talked about binding the model. So why is binding the model important, and what does it, do as far as, telling the data where to go?
Absolutely. You need to show the direction to, okay, fine, there's an open port. Like if I don't know which model I'm going to connect to, then it's a basic requirement. You need to know, okay, these are the right elements and then which model am I going to connect to. Otherwise, say for example, you have 3 or 4 models. You don't want to see all the right elements to each and every model. You have to have some kind of restriction to access or controlled access provided, right, to the users. So that's one of the reasons why you need to bind.
Thank you. I think early on you created notes in Rike and then you showed them appearing in Enterprise Architect. Is it possible to add notes in Enterprise Architect and then see those updated in Rike? And perhaps
Absolutely.
could you describe the difference between the push-pull option that you used and the refresh capability and when you might use those different capabilities?
So as I said earlier, a refresh is to see the updates of Rike elements. That is any update in the external data that has been generated. For example, say the business team is geographically located in a different place and they have updated it. And the testing team, for example, say I'm working as a tester and I want to see the test cases for particular tasks. I open EA and then see the external data. I want to see the updated external data. Okay, so at that time, what I do is I refresh. When I refresh, all the external data will get updated. So in the linked element, I'm going to create, say for example, there's a test case for create order. Okay, and I found a issue. There's an issue and I'm going to put some comment there saying, okay, this particular task has this particular issue. Just to, for your information, there's an issue here. So when this business process is happening, make sure the scenario, or like I'm giving some instructions on how to bypass the issue or something while the development team works to fix it. Okay, this is the scenario. So what I do is I do this comment in the in EA in my test case. Okay, so this is a linked element and I want to push that information to Rike. Okay, I've done it, I'm pushing over to Rike. So that's when you use push. But say for example, there are some information in the external data that's in the Rike. Someone has added more comments there and I want to see what the comments are saying, like say, oh yeah, this particular issue happened in this scenario, the frequency of this issue is blah blah blah, like I say 10 or something, and then I want to see if there are any updates. And what I do then when I open EA is pull data. Okay, so when I pull data, my linked elements gets updated. So this is where push and pull is important, or this is how it's used. Hope that's clear.
Yes, that's great. Thank you. There's a question about custom plugins, and I know there are some people that have created custom plugins, and it says, you know, can you look at plugins developed by others? But perhaps you could talk about this particular webinar's looked at Wrike, but just to be clear, there are lots of other tools that can integrate with Enterprise Architect and ProCloud Server. I know you had a nice diagram up early on, but perhaps if we could just be clear about that to help this customer
out. Okay, I will open that up so that you'll be able to see. So here are the list of external providers for which the integration plugin are readily available along with the ProCloud Server. So one is Application Lifecycle Manager, then there's JAMA, JAS, which is for IBM and Rational DOS and Rhapsody, etc. Then for Jira, Salesforce, Autodesk, like you can see on the screen, these are the readily available plugins, and you can create your own plugins.
A great list. And the other one right at the bottom there about other Enterprise Architect models is that you can link those via the ProCloud Server and bring those in as well. So it really does give you a great deal of flexibility. So if you have customers that do have, you know, some resources in these other tools, you can bring them into Enterprise Architect and do the end-to-end management and the modeling and the everything within Enterprise Architect and manage it all within one tool. And you really just had the two screens up so that you could show them syncing and being updated. So yeah, that's great. So I'm conscious of time. I'd like to thank people for your questions. I'd like to thank you, Nithya, for showing us a really great example and showing how Wrike has been able to integrate with EA. And I think it's you know, something that's really powerful for people to understand how easy it is to configure and to set up and then to manage it within Enterprise Architect.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Scott. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
And look forward to seeing everyone at a future webinar. Thanks very much for your time and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.